Interior, bath, night. Relaxing under dim light, chill jams and dissipating bubbles. I don't really fiddle with my brothers on a regular basis, despite how much I know I should. I guess my love affair with ignorance is a toxic one. Letting my thoughts dissolve, curiosity came a-knocking. Why not give the neighbours a visit? What's the worst that could happen?
Cancer!
Oh, sorry about that. So cancer isn't fun, obviously. And a cancer scare is pretty up there on my top 10 things that scare me big lots list. The lump was the size of a regular pea going on a SIM card. A bit squishy and laying just by the little soldier's cable cords. So, as you'd expect, I finished my bath, dried off, and made sure I booked the first appointment I could to get this thing checked out. In reality, I fainted in the bath, wolverined out after a good minute, and then waited around 3 months to build up the courage and run out of decent excuses. Also, my friend Crystal hit me. Which is fair. Now, this might seem a little outlandish, but don't do that! I get it. I empathise. It's a scary reality to confront. But don't. Now, I know that these doctors do this all the time. So as someone who's seen male genitalia in the wild and knows the potential of a non-perfect porn penis, I empathise with the catcher of my throat. So I thought it would be gentlemanly of me to give my bonsai tree a little tender love and care. Clear the runway for a clean takeoff and landing. Cut my pubes. Sorry, Mum. I've always found the entire doctor's office hospital environment a bit scary. It probably doesn't help that I'm in there to reveal a part of myself I only bring out as much as my mum's fancy plates. About once a year to a mostly unimpressed audience. Sorry again, Mum. A big thing I learned from this is that the anticipation is always way worse than the fall itself. After around 15 minutes of pure anxiety that felt more like hours, the doctor led me into a small room. We had a chat about where and what it felt like. Similar to a SWAT team briefing before the breach. 3, 2, 1, breach, breach, breach! The doctor was genuinely jolly and broke the obvious tension. They asked me to sit on a table behind a curtain, drop my pants, lay down, and let them know when I was comfortable. Now, to this day, I don't know what was weirder, the fact that I tidied my garage, or the fact that they made a remark about it. They were the laddie type. They said, and I quote, "Ooh, you've trimmed up." And I said, absolutely nothing, and started my inbuilt self-destruct system. Beep, beep, beep. Sound effects. After robocoping me back together, they put on some gloves and checked the coconuts for coca lumps. At that point, I never had someone massage my marbles, so this was all new for me. But they were a proper gentleman about it. Emphasis on the gentle. They were very sensitive. A common fear people have coming into this was the possible sexual side of this encounter, but I can promise everyone who shares this fear that there is truly nothing sexy about it. When I was laying there, embarrassed of the idea that I tidied up my tiddlywinks for this doctor, and they knew it, the fear of any sexual repercussions were kindly left in the lobby to fend for themselves amongst the flimmerflaps they have in every doctor's office ever. What are you? They said it could be any number of things, but they were worried enough to get a second opinion in around a week's time, to see if the swelling goes down by itself. I left with a sense of relief, shame, and pure anxiety of the second stranger who's going to use my twins as an overly sensitive stress ball. At least this time I'm going to make my empathetic attempts to tidy my room a little less noticeable.
That's better.
Doctor number 2 was less laddie and more straight to the point. They didn't even bother with the curtain and the comfort, but asked me to stand and bear it all just to confirm the worries of Dr. Ladd before them. A touch, a squeeze, and an appointment for an ultrasound in a month's time. Which is one hell of a wait. The anticipation rumbled me. I couldn't sleep. How could I? I could lose good old righty or even worse, my life. Thoughts of kids I'd never have. My potential partner leaving me for someone who could. One night I accepted my fate of a childless life. Replacing kids for dogs. A more than fair exchange in my opinion. Once again, sorry Mum. Weird future side note, still don't want to have kids. The world is dying and I feel like you have to be at least a little optimistic for the future to want to bring a kid into this world. Plus, there are so many kids up for adoption who need you now more than ever. Also, dogs! It's ultrasound time! So, I'm not exaggerating when I say the person doing my ultrasound was the saddest man I've ever encountered. It became quite obvious to me in the quick minute I was in there that this man had seen a lot of Frankfurters that day and was thoroughly not enjoying the German market that was his job. And it's hard not to feel sorry for him. I'd be a bit bummed out if my day involved an extensive gallery of genitalia. And don't get me wrong, I love genitalia, but I also think we as humans have limits. Before I even had the chance to break the dick-filled tension in the room, he told me to drop my pants, lay down, whip my willy out and cover it with a paper towel. Which was a step I wasn't really expecting. You see, they usually just ask for you to put the soldier in battle stance whilst they survey the road for mines. A much nicer practice than the whole towel technique. So as he averted his gaze, holding out this limp blue paper towel, mumbling a saddened, "Please, cover it up," it really cemented within me the true sorrow that was latched onto this man's very existence. If you're out there, I hope you're doing okay. Now, at that time, I'd never had my lemons licked, but an ultrasound gently caressing my hacky sacks for around 30 minutes is probably the closest I had got to that level of intimacy with another human being. To sum up the experience, they essentially put a gel all over the pearls and use what I can only describe as a slab of vibrating ice right on there, and rub. After the icy rubber-thon was over, he turned away, mumbled a saddened, "Please leave," and left me pulling my trousers up, waddling out of the dark room and into the nearest toilet to ashamedly wipe the remaining gel off my apples and pears. Now, to save you the rest of the details, you're welcome, a few weeks later I got told it was a benign tumour. He now just lives there, keeping half of my potential kids company for the rest of my life. Yay! Yay! Yay. Since this time, I've had a few more cancer checkups, partly to keep an eye on Barry the benign boy, but also some other lumps and bumps I've picked up along the way. They all pretty much went the same way with varying amounts of second, third and maybe fourth opinions. But overall, the experiences were very similar, and like everything, it does get easier with time, especially for someone as socially anxious as me. Now, as scary as all these little snippets may seem, I can't help but look back on this time in my life and laugh. Not only do I have no overwhelming anxiety over medical professionals consensually seeing my Netherlands, but I also left all this with a crazy respect for the doctors who have to deal with anxious little kids like me on a daily basis. Thank you for being comforting and understanding in times where we feel like the world is falling down around us. I truly appreciate you. Even you, sad ultrasound man. Yay! If there's one thing I want to leave you with is to check your bits and bats on the regs. It is truly better to be safe than sorry. And for God's sake, don't sit in a puddle of worry and not get the damn thing checked. Don't be an idiot like me. I'm going to leave as many resources as I can in the description below. I hope in some way this helps, and also don't make it too obvious that you've trimmed up. Until next time, thank you for watching. Bye!